All right, good evening and welcome to my new podcast. This is the Neo Dark Stoic, and my podcast will be called, it is called the Moral Decay Index. All right. Um, so let me ask you a question. Um, when you see flashing lights today, do you feel protected or do you feel hunted? I guess it wouldn't, you know, matter where, what race you are, or, how you feel about police or whatever. But I can tell you that there's a lot of people that feel hunted. Because once a governmental force becomes something people fear, not because they broke the law, but because of who they are, history tells us something dangerous is happening. So, like I said tonight, where this is the Neo Dark Stoic again, like I said, and I'm going to talk about ICE. Not as a political talking point, not as a slogan, but as an institution, and why millions of people are beginning to see it the same way that people once saw the slave patrols in the 1800s. And again, this is the Moral Decay Index Podcast. So I'm going to connect that to a metric that I have come up with to show when a country is in moral decay. Now, you ask what the Moral Decay Index and why do I call that? As I said, it is a list of metrics that will show if a country, specifically the United States, where I'm from, is starting to lean towards moral decay. I'll talk about all the other metrics soon, but I just wanted to get this ICE thing out. And I heard that their director of ICE has been let go, which is a good thing because you shouldn't be supporting officers who behave that way. Law enforcement. Let me make one thing clear. I am the son of a chief of police. My father was a provost marshal in the United States Army. The provost marshal is the chief of police. Everywhere we lived. My dad was in the military. Was in the Army for 24 years. He was the chief of police, so he was in charge of the police on a military installation, and sometimes he was in charge of numerous military installations. My dad is retired as a lieutenant colonel, Vietnam vet, all that. He has since gone home to be with the Lord, and he had full military burial. That being said, I just want to get that out of the way before people think that, oh, he's just saying that because he don't like the police. And about me, I used to be a correctional officer and a public safety officer at a college. So I have very high respect for law enforcement who remember that their power was given to them, we as citizens allow them the power to make sure that we're safe, but not to violate our constitutional rights. All right, going ahead forward. So, to understand where we are at in the present, we have to face the past. So, in the 1700s, through the Civil War, Southern colonies created what they know as slave patrols. Police actually come from slave patrols too, just so you know. Their job was simply to capture and escape slaves, intimidate the enslaved population, and believe it or not, yes, for those who don't want to hear this, sorry, it is to enforce racial hierarchy. White supremacy would still exist today, was, back then was pushed very strong. And it's still being pushed today, especially by the current resident of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. That's the White House, if you don't know. They were also there to suppress rebellion through fear. So these guys operated also with legal authority, the slave patrols. They wore badges, they carried weapons, they could stop, search, detain, and punish, often without consequences. The slave patrols were not about justice, they were about control. So, here's an uncomfortable truth. Slave patrols were one of the earliest foundations of modern American policing. Believe that. That's not an opinion, that's documented history. So, how ICE functions today. They were created in 2003. It's not something that has some long history. And ICE stands for, if you didn't know, Immigration Customs Enforcement. Immigration Customs Enforcement. Their purpose was to enforce immigration law. Hey, I agree with that. Identify undocumented individuals. I agree with that. Remove those deemed threats. Also. So on paper, that sounds orderly, right? But in practice, what has been going on? Raids without warning, families separated, detentions based on suspicion, American citizens being detained, cooperation with local police that blurs jurisdiction, and fatal encounters involving civilians and American citizens. Widespread fear among entire communities, not just criminals. You going up to Native Americans just because they're brown and asking them, let me see your ID. And the Supreme Court has the nerve to allow it just because of the way they look. What has this country come to? It's just going back to where it was, where white supremacy rules. So let me be clear. ICE is not legally identical to slave patrols. But systems don't need to be identical to be the same or rhyme. Here's the parallel. Slave patrols targeted a specific population, African Americans. Well, they weren't even called Americans back then. It was called slaves. ICE targets a specific population, those who are undocumented, those who are brown, those who are dark-skinned. Operated with broad authority. They both operated with broad authority. Hell, the resident of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue has written them a blank check and basically says, go ahead. Go out there and do some rough policing. You don't see it, but my fingers are in quotes, rough policing. And yeah, there's members of the Proud Boys. They wouldn't like that if I said the Pride Boys. But the Proud Boys that are in ICE, which tells me they don't do background checks. You just got a bunch of thugs with badges on now. Again, I don't say that about police officers. I am a child of a a chief of police. So let's get it clear. I am not anti-police. You would never hear me say defund the police and all that silly mess, because I don't believe in that. I believe they should have more funding, I believe that they should also have more counselors. I believe they should also have different type of trainings. Let me take a look. You ever notice on police when as soon as they get to a scene, they are on 10. Let me see your hands. Let me see your hands. Let me see your hands. They're already on 10. They should be on 3. Hey, sir or ma'am, put your hands in the air and walk this way. You see the difference? And let me see your hands and let me see your hands and walk this way. Being able to articulate authority without yelling and screaming and trying to sound intimidating. It's not that hard. And I believe it would make the offender and the police officer safer. So that's just an aside. I just wanted to throw in there real quick. Nothing, not anything to do with this. Sorry, my podcast is going to be like that. I'll think of a subject and I'll go to that. So anyway, the slave paroles didn't just punish escaped slaves. You know, they sent a message: you're being watched. You're not safe. You don't belong here. N-word. And so many of our undocumented communities are people of Hispanic descent, or even people who are of African American or Puerto Rican descent. Puerto Ricans are American citizens. Bad Bunny at the Super Bowl, I'll be watching. He's an American citizen who happens to speak Spanish. He's a United States citizen. So this is why trust is an issue. Law enforcement survives on legitimacy, not force. When the person being arrested or the citizens of the community believe that the law is fair, you know, they're gonna cooperate. You know, we're gonna report crimes. They testify, they comply. But when they believe the law is selected, that trust dies. You feel me? Right now, surveys show 57% of Americans disapprove of ICE tactics. Fatal encounters involving civilians who are documented. It's bad. Local police increasingly distrusted due to the cooperation with ICE. And you might say, well, I don't care. Well, and trust matters because that's a moral resource. Once it's gone, you don't get it back easily. That's what this administration needs to learn. So let me bring you in on some data about, and I'm going to bring you into the Moral Decay Index. So the Moral Decay Index, I use binary numbers, 0 and 1. It's either good or it's not. You know, it's either good or bad. It's black and white. So 0 and 1. Think 0 and 1 as black and white. All right. Neither, and I'm not saying black and white are good. Just say that. There goes my mind again. Again, I will flare off here every once in a while. But hang in there with me because I believe that I can drop some knowledge for you. So, in my metrics in the Moral Decay Index for the United States of America, first one is teenage pregnancy. Is it if it's high, you know, that shows a sign of moral decay. Doesn't mean the country is going to moral decay, but that's a sign of moral decay. Church attendance. If church attendance is low, that's a sign of moral decay. Now, some people will say, hey, man, just because I don't go to church doesn't mean I'm not a Christian. I'm not saying that. But the metric is the metric. And I believe if more people went to church and actually read the Bible, because some people will go to church and don't read the Bible. And I mean really read it and understand it. You would know that the way some of the things that are going on in this country right now, you would know that they were wrong. And that's on both sides of the aisle. So that's that. How much trust you have in the government, the presidential administration at the time. How much trust you have. That's also part of the Moral Decay Index. What else? Divorce rates. Divorce rates are high. Moral Decay Index. This shows a sign of decay. I was about to say something, but I decided to fall back. Abortion rates. If abortion rates are high, yes, that shows that we're leaning towards moral decay. So, I'm not for abortion, but I'm also not for it being abolished. But to be clear, I'm not for abortion. But also to be clear, I'm not for it being abolished. Because it is a human being that is being killed when a child is being aborted. So you guys are probably like, somebody listens like, where is this guy at? What is going on? He doesn't like this. It doesn't line up with, yeah, it doesn't have to line up. Many people think one thing about someone just because they vote a certain way or they look a certain way. And that's wrong. And the last metric that I use is trust in law enforcement. If trust in law enforcement is low, we are leaning towards moral decay. Right now, what I'm calculating right now, the way the calculation is running, so I'll break it down for you. So teenage pregnancy. Teenage pregnancy is actually low. So that's a 0. As I said, it's either off or on. It's either 0 or 1. That's how the Moral Decay Index works. Church attendance. It's low. So that's a 1. Trust in the current administration. 40% approval rating. That's low. That's a 1. Remember, binary number, off and on. 0 is off, 1 is on. So if it's a 0, that's low. If it's a 1, it's high. Divorce rates, between 41 and 50%. That's right on the border. So that's a 1. That's high. Abortion rates, 1.1 million annually. That's high. That's a 1. Law enforcement trust. And ICE is really making this bad. It's very low. So that's a 1. So there are 6 metrics. And I take the MDI equals the 6 metrics divided by the binary number, and this time it's 5, times 100 to get the percentage, which equals 83.3%. So right now, according to this metric that I've created, we are leaning towards moral decay in this country. And you will hear many of those on the right saying that, hey, we're Christian, we love the Lord. And that may be true. That may be true, but you're not showing it. Not by how you're acting. And let me just say, the current resident of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, he's not making y'all look good. He has no dignity, no respect, nothing. And that's all the comments I'm going to have on the current resident of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. So going forward, when people stop trusting law enforcement, crime goes unreported, communities isolate, which is happening right now. Vigilantism rises, which some people are trying to do now, and political radicalization increases, which, I always hear that person in 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue talk about the radical left. But I'm gonna tell you right now, the only people that I see radical right now is on the right. And it's shameful and embarrassing. Because y'all know better. You know better. These members of Congress, especially those who are lawyers and have criminal law in their background, or any type of law in their background, especially constitutional law, they know better. You know better. All of Congress, right and left, Democrats and Republicans and independents, they know better. But nobody's acting. And because of that inaction, it's also leading to moral decay. So listen, hey man, I get you trying to stand behind your party leader. And on the left, I get that you are trying to hold the line, but you feel like you don't have the votes. Y'all got to go to work. Y'all got to come together and say, hey man, this isn't looking good. This is not looking good. I do not recognize the United States of America right now. I don't recognize how things are going down right now. were kidnapping leaders of other countries. Yeah, he was bad and needed to go, but not like that. Not like that, no sir. And shout out to the courageous military members that went in there and did follow their orders like they should. No shade on them. They did what they were ordered to do. Don't make us look good. I'm talking about the orders of the president, not our men and women in uniform. Love them. But yeah, y'all know better. It's not a good look. Congress and this Pete Hegseth, I think that's how you say his name. I don't really care how you say his name. He needs to go because he's totally disrespecting our military. Can't even believe he is the Secretary of Defense. I will not call him the Secretary of War. That's a made-up department. It's the Department of Defense, not War. Stupid. Call it the Department of War. So, let me tell you. Here's the truth that no one wants to say out loud. A nation that sacrifices trust for control always loses both. ICE may enforce all they're trying to do, but if the cost is fear, silence, and division, and murder, the Moral Decay Index will not only rise, which it has risen, it's going to come back around. There's a song by Rage Against the Machine. I don't remember the title of it, but part of it says it's coming back around again. Do 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 do. It's called the People of the Sun. It's coming back around again. Well, let me tell you, things go back around. Everybody who's agreeing with all these rules, you need to check yourself. A wise man by the name of Mr. Magic used to say, back in the day, check yourself before you wreck yourself, because you might find yourself by yourself. And I'm going to add to that, in a cell. So just because you have this power now, it can come back and haunt you. A lot of these state attorney generals aren't playing. And y'all need to know that you put your hand up and said, I swear, you swore an oath to support and defend the Constitution of these United States. That Constitution has the Bill of Rights in it, right? Am I missing something? That Constitution does have a Bill of Rights in it, right? So, anyway, I just wanted to drop a little podcast real quick. This is my new venture. See how this goes. My podcast is going to be faceless. You don't need to see me. I'm not afraid to show my face. But sometimes I just think it's corny sometimes when people are sitting in front of the camera talking. To me, it's just corny. No shade to any of the podcasters out there. I'm sure you guys make a wonderful living and you're doing your thing. But I just just don't feel like that I need to be on camera. And no, I'm not a criminal, and no, I'm not wanted for any crime. So y'all can call me the Neo Dark Stoic. I definitely believe in Stoicism. And if you want to know why I call it Neo Dark Stoicism, something that I have coined, Neo Dark Stoicism, that's my thing, is the dark is really kind of like, it's not a dark, it's a light thing, because I incorporate the thoughts of the old philosophers, Seneca, Marcus Aurelius, all men like that. And I combine it with biblical scriptures, because number one, the Bible is the number one. You want to learn some philosophy? Read the Bible. You want to learn basic instructions before leaving Earth? Read the Bible. I'm not a pastor. I got too many character flaws to be a pastor. But I tell you what, at least, and look, I know myself. At least I can admit that I'm never perfect. I'll just say I'm not perfect. I'll just say that. But I'm not going to be contributing to the Moral Decay Index. I'm trying to get our country to a good spot, And you hear a bunch of people say, make America great again. But when was America actually, really great? There was moral decay back in when people call the greatest generation, who I don't call them the greatest generation, because I know what that generation did. No generation has been great in the United States of America yet. None. Zero. Zilch. All these generations been foul. Period. But I forgive them now. And so does God. And if you don't believe in God, he believes in you. So again, you don't know where I stand. But I do. Well, you do know, because I did say. But you probably think that I'm one way when I'm not. You probably think, oh yeah, he's a conservative. Nah. I do like some conservative things. But not these conservatives. No, sir. Not what they call conservatism today. Nah, bro. Nah. It's not good. It's not good at all. So, I hope you enjoyed this podcast. Sponsored by no one. By myself. If you like this podcast and, want to hear more, this is obviously on my YouTube channel. So look at some of the videos that I've done. Also faceless. I think I have some videos of myself on here doing a bunch of silly stuff. When they tell you when you work on a YouTube channel just to, stick to one subject and only do one thing. Man, damn that. I'm not doing that. This is my channel. I do what I want. So I'll have things that I want to do. I'll have serious things. I'll have fun things. I do what I want. It's my channel. And if you subscribe, you subscribe. Hey, man. It is what it is. So, anyway, for anybody that has listened to this, I appreciate you. And as everyone says, if you could like and subscribe, that would be great. Cost you nothing. I will never, ever have anyone sign up for a Patreon or any of that. That's bull crap. The reason that you're getting followers and that you're even to get even a little bit of monetization are because you offered your services free. So people who use Patreon or all this other stuff, it's foul. But saying that, if you want to donate, hey man, my information's, my Cash App's in there, all of that. But I'm not asking for money. But if you want to donate, it's in there. I'm not gonna say it over here, but if you want to look at my my account information, you feel free to do so. Anyway, I'm just rambling now. Kind of fun. It's kind of an outlet for me. Kind of something that is, what do you want to call it? Healing, I guess. But this is an outlet for me. So if you enjoy it, I'm enjoying it too. And if you're not enjoying it, sorry. But thanks for listening, and I appreciate you. And again, like and subscribe.